Hello, my name is Michelle, and you're watching From Surviving to Thriving. And this month, I've really dedicated more time to spreading awareness of men that have found themselves in relationships with narcissists or emotionally abusive relationships. And there's one thing that I've come to realize that we have in common, whether we are male or female, and that's the fact that so often we find ourselves in these abusive situations because we do not listen to our gut instinct. Now, in many cases, I think that's because of the way we're raised. Maybe our feelings were never taken into consideration when we were young, and so when we spot red flags, we notice them. We can point them out. We can even articulate about them. But when it comes to acting on them and leaving an abusive relationship, oftentimes we'll start to second guess ourselves and think, well, wait a second, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not seeing things clearly. And the red flags are there, they're for us. We see them, but we're not taking action because we just don't trust our gut enough. I think that's something we have in common, and that's something that I've seen with male subscribers. And with that in mind, I want to read one email from a male subscriber who's going through a situation, who's trying to make sense out of it, and afterward we can kind of pick apart those red flags. So if I miss any red flags, please take a moment to comment and share your thoughts on them as well. Now, this subscriber asked for my advice, and I'm going to give it, but keep in mind that whatever I tell you may not always be what you want to hear. I would rather hurt you with the truth than just tell you everything's great and know that you're in a situation that's going to be hurtful in the future. So with that in mind, let's get right to that email.
Dear Michelle, I really appreciate your efforts to address all the problems that are related to emotionally abused people. I'm going through a very critical situation. Please let me talk about it. I trust your advice. I have a long-distance relationship with a girl that I love so much, and I'm exerting all possible effort to make it toward getting married. However, my girlfriend is acting really strange, and I fail to understand, even since the beginning of our relationship, which has been a year long. Anyway, my girlfriend is concentrating on very small, tiny details in our relationship. Sometimes I feel like she tries to control me. When we disagree, she gets upset and gives me the silent treatment. I always ask her to have a mature conversation and discuss it in order to find a solution to our problems, but she never responds. She's complaining all the time that I'm not able to understand her feelings, but whenever I ask her to help me to understand the situation so that in the future I can handle her much better, she simply replies, "No, you should figure it out yourself." We are arguing all the time because she's making a big problem from small things. For example, if I posted a photo in Facebook, she starts a fight telling me that I'm ignoring her. She is filtering every small word in my texts. She keeps telling me that she doesn't like me calling her with a certain name or using certain words with her, but all the words that I'm using with her are respectful and nice. Anyway, I feel like I'm walking on eggshells when we're talking or texting. Moreover, she keeps telling me that she doesn't like my way of talking because it makes her nervous, so it's better not to talk. She's always accusing me for not taking care of her details and life, and yet she never gives me the same treatment that she is asking for. And when I ask her for a little empathy in situations that I feel weak, she replies with, "You're a man. Why do you need empathy from a girl? You should be strong." My girlfriend never admits she is wrong and never says sorry. My girlfriend is really good at twisting my words, and whenever I tell her that I'm angry because she did such and such, she twists the situation and plays the victim to start a fight. Since then, I have stopped blaming her about anything wrong that she does because I'm afraid she'll get angry. She keeps blaming and accusing me for no obvious reason, and when I ask for a conversation, she replies, "You just make things bigger. Nothing needs to be discussed." Or she replies, "You misunderstood me. I didn't mean that." We never had a mature, calm conversation with each other. You should know that I'm asking for it all the time. Also, my girlfriend never asks about my family or my work. Finally, my girlfriend keeps telling me that if you cannot tolerate my mood swings, you should leave. But when I do leave, she starts to post on Facebook how she misses her boyfriend so much. And yet when I come back again, she starts over with torturing me all over again. Please note that my girlfriend is extremely hot. I look forward to hearing your reply.
Okay, so before I start talking about the red flags, I just want to say thank you for sharing a piece of what's going on at a very delicate time in your life. This is a young subscriber who's wanting to get married, who feels that this person is the one for them and is just not understanding what's going wrong with the situation. Now with women, there are tons of videos like this. We tend to open our hearts and share our struggles more often than men. So the fact that you are doing this, the fact that you took the time to do this is huge, and I want to say a personal thank you to you. Okay, so I just want to point out 17 red flags that I found in this email and talk about them a little bit, but in the end, no matter what I say, no matter what anybody else says, each person has to be responsible for their decisions, and each person has to make their own decision on what would be healthy for you, for them, and what wouldn't be. But the fact that you're looking for information, the fact that you're looking for validation and understanding is a good sign. It means that you're seeing there's something wrong, and maybe you're doubting yourself a little and you just need a little bit of confirmation. But anyway, regardless, let's get right into the red flags that I noticed. The first one was that you mentioned that you feel like she's controlling you. No one should feel controlled in a relationship. If you're feeling micromanaged, if you're feeling like every move has to be stamped with approval by the person you're with, that's a red flag of an emotional abuser. Number two, the famous silent treatment. Now, I know what the silent treatment feels like, to be on the receiving end of it, and to me, I would describe that as emotional torture. It's as if the person is treating you as if you are dead when you're not. It's an awful feeling. Okay, if somebody's treating you even before being married in this way and they're giving you the silent treatment when things aren't going as they planned, that is a big red flag for an emotional abuser. Number three, never wanting to reconcile. Now, there's always going to be disagreements, there's always going to be problems that need to be handled. So once again, that is a red flag of an emotional abuser. If you can never work together towards reconciling, that's a really big red flag that you need to pay attention to. Number four, complaining that you don't understand her and yet telling you that you should know what you're doing wrong without even being willing to explain it. That's basically setting you up to always fail, and that's basically always giving her the ability to get mad because she's not telling you what's upsetting her, and yet she's expecting you to read her mind, and since you can't, you're going to fail and she's going to be angry all the time. That's a big red flag of an emotional abuser. People need to, in a healthy relationship, you need to be able to share what upsets you, what scares you, your fears, your passions, your everything. You need to be able to express that in a healthy relationship. And if you can't, then you really have to evaluate, is this a healthy relationship? Red flag number five, the fact that you're arguing all the time. Now, in every relationship, people argue, people disagree. But when it's chronic, that's a red flag. It's like being physically ill. If you're sick every now and then, it's not a big deal. But if you are chronically ill, you're going to realize that this is a serious problem. Well, that's the same thing with our arguments. If they're chronic and they're all the time, that's a red flag telling you that that relationship is sick. It's not healthy. Number six, creating huge problems over small things. Posting a picture on Facebook and then her getting mad that you're ignoring her because you took 2 seconds to post something for yourself or about something other than her. That's just unhealthy. That's basically saying, I am the sun and you revolve around me and nothing else should occupy your time. That's a very unhealthy behavior. And it's a very narcissistic behavior. Not that I am labeling or diagnosing anybody. That's not what I'm trying to do. But I am trying to point out emotionally abusive behavior and red flags before you wind up doing something that you look back on and say, wow, I really noticed all these things. Why didn't I act on them? Okay, so keep that in mind. Somebody that creates problems over nothing is not a happy person, is not a healthy person. It's somebody that has a lot of anger inside and needs to create chaos in order to have an excuse to let it out. That's a very emotionally abusive behavior. Number 7, you yourself mentioned that you feel as if you're walking on eggshells, whether you're talking or texting your girlfriend. If you feel like you have to think about every single word that comes out of your mouth because you're scared that a tiny word said the wrong way, or maybe the right word with the wrong tone, is going to set off the person you're in a relationship with, then you're in an unhealthy relationship. You are in a toxic relationship. Number 8, she doesn't like your way of talking. Now, if this was a narcissistic person, and I'm saying was, if possibly this person was narcissistic, that kind of a comment is what the person is really saying. What a narcissist is really saying when they say something like that is, you're not going along with my game. I'm expecting this from you. I'm expecting a reaction from you, and you're staying calm, and you're trying to be reasonable. I want you to fly off the handle. I want you to get upset. I want you to be emotionally distraught, and you're not. So that's a really big red flag when somebody says that, especially when you're making every effort to make the relationship work and understand the other person. Number 9, she doesn't give you what she demands you give her. So once again, that's a narcissistic trait. Not that I'm saying she is a narcissist, but that is a very high narcissistic trait where they demand 100% and want to give 0. And they train you little by little to expect 0 from them by getting angry every time you want something from them. So once again, that's a huge red flag, and you're noticing it. So keep that in mind. Number 10, a lack of empathy. Now, this is the one characteristic that a narcissist does have. They have 0 ability to empathize. Now, when you're going to someone and you're sharing a weakness with them, and they stamp on you and make you feel bad for having that weakness, that's a huge red flag of an emotionally abusive person. Number 11, never wrong and never sorry. Okay, there is no person on this earth that is perfect and that never makes a mistake and that never has to say the words, I'm sorry. So if you're in a relationship with somebody and you're the one that's always saying I'm sorry, and you're the one that's always making peace, next red flag is how you notice that when you're angry with her, she'll switch it around and play the victim. Now that's another narcissistic tactic. It's called DARVO. It's deny, attack, reverse victim and offender roles, where they deny the wrongdoing they did and attack you for bringing it up, and they become the victim. So here you are beginning to say, hey, that hurt my feelings, and in the end you're apologizing, saying, oh yeah, I shouldn't have been upset. That's what happens. That's a very emotionally abusive tactic. The next thing I want to point out is, in your email, you mentioned that you stopped holding her accountable. You stopped letting her know when she upset you because of the anger that you had to endure afterward. Okay, that's coercive control. You are actually changing. You're lowering your standards to avoid anger willingly. And little by little, that is extremely damaging, because little by little you start losing who you are. You stop being you because you think the other person's going to get angry, and you lose yourself. To me, I liken that to being in the ocean and you're standing still, and you think you're standing still, you think you're not moving, and then you look towards the shore and you realize that you're like a mile away from where you put your things. Well, when you're in a relationship with a narcissist and you start changing, you start lessening, lowering the bar that you would expect from the other person, and we all should expect healthy behavior from the other person. There's nothing wrong with expecting to be treated with respect and kindness. So when you stop doing that, you're changing, you're drifting in the ocean. And oftentimes, a person that stays in a relationship like that will look back on themselves and feel like a stranger because they've changed so much. And the narcissist uses their anger to change you. You expect them to be kind. When they're not, they get angry. You stop expecting them to be kind. You expect this. When they get angry at you for expecting it, you stop expecting it. You're changing. And that's really damaging, once again, because you lose your core identity in the relationship. I noticed another red flag of projection, where she will cause a problem and then accuse you for making things bigger when you want to just discuss it and handle it in a rational way. Okay, she's projecting how she's handling it onto you. Another red flag that you mentioned is that she doesn't ask you about your work or your family. That's showing zero personal interest in you as a person. I noticed that in a relationship that I had with a narcissist as well. I thought, wow, why doesn't this person ask me about my life, or why are they showing no interest? And what did I do? I told myself, oh, it's because they don't want to pry, or they're shy. No, it was because they really had zero interest in those things. So if somebody doesn't have any interest in your personal life, in your family, in your feelings, that's a red flag of an unhealthy person, of a toxic relationship. And the last point was how she tells you to leave if you don't like her mood swings, so you do. And then she acts like she misses you and you come back. That's hoovering. I've done so many videos on this. There's one that comes to mind where I think I titled it, "The Narcissist Loves You the Most When You Have One Foot Out the Door." They enjoy pushing you, seeing how far they can push you before you can't take any more. Then you leave, they enjoy feeling that power of having the ability to pull you back in if and when they want. Again, that's a cycle, an abusive cycle, and that is a red flag of an emotionally abusive behavior. So there were a ton of them in that email, and I'm hoping you wrote that email because you're seeing these things and you know they're wrong. Now, I don't want to skip the last line because that was really important. You mentioned your girlfriend is really hot. Okay, I know that when a person is in a relationship with a very attractive person, it's hard because you have that attraction. You feel that attraction. It's there. And you want it to work out so bad. Think of a friend of yours who's telling you about all these issues he's having with his girlfriend, and you don't know what she looks like. What advice would you give your friend if he told you all these things that you're sharing? What would you tell him? Because I think inside of you, you know what's the right decision to do, but you're not trusting yourself and you're not wanting to let go due to your attraction to the other person. Now, I understand that that's really difficult, but there is a reality that needs to be understood, and that's when you're in a long-term relationship with somebody that's treating you in these ways. They can be the most beautiful thing on earth, and yet if you're being treated like this, you will not feel attracted to that person with time. Maybe you're thinking right now, oh, that's impossible. If you saw her, she's amazing. But the truth is after that kind of treatment, you lose attraction to that person. Now, women are a little different in this aspect because as women, we aren't quite as physical as men, and that's why often, have you ever seen these guys with these beautiful women and you're like, how did he get her? Oh my God, she's gorgeous, and he's just regular. Because as women, we fall in love from the inside out. Not that we don't feel that physical attraction, there has to be some kind of physical attraction, but as women, we tend to put a lot more in what's inside the package as well than what some men will do. And I mean no disrespect by this, and I don't mean that every man is like this. And again, this is a young subscriber, so the younger the person, looks tend to be really high on a priority list of a person. You really have to analyze how healthy this relationship is, because once again, a long-term relationship, a marriage with somebody that treats you like this is not a loving marriage. It's not going to be enjoyable. I hate to say that. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but once again, I'm going to give you my honest opinion. I'm not telling you what to do. But I think you really need to look at these red flags and analyze how happy you would be. Putting looks aside, because that seems to be what's really kind of hooking you at this moment. I hope the best for you. My advice to you is not to rush anything, but really analyze the relationship, really observe it, and think what you need to be in order to be happy in a relationship, and are your needs being met? Because right now you're so focused on trying to make her happy, which seems an impossible task, which is another red flag. But what about you? What's she doing to make you happy, and what are your needs? Because we all have them. So analyze that. Don't rush anything, and I hope the best for you. So thank you for taking the time to share your story with the channel.